Welcome back, guys, to the Bound Together episode 9. We are very happy and very excited that we have a special guest today. We've had an evangelistic mini week, and we're here gathered with Pastor Raul
Yes, sir.
and his wife,
Gio.
Gio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy to be
you.
here.
Thank you.
So, to get started, we just wanted to get to know you a little bit.
Mm.
To tell us who you are, what brought you to become a pastor,
Mm.
and how do you meet your wife, and so on, and
Okay.
so on. And then same thing. You just tell us some little information about you and everything, and then we'll go from there.
Let's go. My name is Raul Alvarez, and I pastor in the Lubbock Seventh-day Adventist Church here, not here, but in Texas. And we're glad to be here for this mini week, that we're able to spend some time with you guys. That's a good question. How did I start ministry, or why did I decided to be a pastor? I wanted to. I said it in the sermon sometime this week. I wanted to be a businessman, but I felt like God wanted me to do something different. And for those who don't know, I didn't say it this week, but my grandfather is a pastor. My dad is also a pastor, and then my uncles are pastors, and my cousins are also pastors. So I was basically the black sheep, that who didn't want to be a pastor in the whole family. But I felt like God wanted me to do so, and I followed. It's a huge testimony. Bottom line, to make the story short, is that I went canvassing after my professors from back college told me that they wanted me to be a pastor, and I went canvassing. And I don't know if you guys know what canvassing is. You guys know what that is?
No, no.
I don't know.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
Colporting. Have you heard
Oh,
about
colporting. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a different word for colporting. So we went canvassing, knocking door to door, and I asked God, if you want me to be a pastor, make me the top seller by the end of the summer.
Wow.
Out of all these kids, out of all the students that came from different places, if you make me the top seller, I'll go back to Saul, where I went to school, and I'll change my majors from business to theology. And I said that knowing that was not going to happen. That was me testing God. And I told God, I know that's not going to happen. So that's the proof, that's the test for me not to become a pastor. Because the first week I was not selling any books, and I was very discouraged because all the students were selling books. But on the second week, books started to go out, and people would buy them. And sometimes I didn't have to say anything. People would say, "Oh no, I want that book and that book and that one," and I was like, "Okay." So people would give me $100, $200, and and then by the end of the summer, they said, "Hey, you were the top seller." So I went back to Sao, and I, instead of doing theology, I decided to stay doing business and then add the theology degree.
Okay.
So that's how things happen for me. And you can tell, my wife can tell how we met. I think she's better at doing that than me.
Well, my name is Giovanna, but they call me Gio for short. We didn't meet in college, actually. We met after college. We had both graduated already, and I'm a nurse. And I work in a hospital in Lubbock, Texas. But I work in the NICU, which is the neonatal ICU. So babies are premature, they go to us, and we take care of them until they can go home. So that's a little bit about me. For how we met, that's kind of like a long
It's a
story,
long story.
and it has a lot of moving
Details,
parts.
yeah.
But basically, something else I wanted to mention: his family, everyone is a pastor. Their uncle is a pastor, and in my family, everyone's in the health
Medical field, yeah.
field. My dad is a doctor.
Nice.
My brothers are nurses. Their wives are nurses too. I'm a nurse, so it was something completely different when
Very
we came
different,
together.
yeah, for both of us.
So yeah, but for how we met, when we came back, I graduated from my university, and so did he. So when I came back to California, my mom told me, "Hey, there is this family, this Cuban family that we met, and I want you to meet them." And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But she told me this as if they had just met like last Friday, like something super quick. I didn't know that that happened a year before.
We had met a year before that.
Yeah. So like, and the thing is
I
that
met her family.
he met my family,
Not her, but her
but
family.
not
Yeah.
me, not me. We didn't meet
Yeah.
because I was canvassing
Yes, she
in
was-
Puerto Rico.
Right.
Oh,
right.
nice.
So we were kind of doing the same thing
She
in
was doing God's
different
work.
times. Yeah. So after that, she tells me, no, they have a son and a daughter, which is his sister and him, and they sent you a friend request on Facebook. But I don't really add anybody that I don't know in any social media. So I was like, Mommy, no one sent me anything. I don't know. And she was like, no, check. So I go back and I find their friend request. I'm like, oh, it's actually there. You know, it's yeah, they sent it. So I added them. But basically they met because it's your dad's friend.
My dad's friend.
It's his dad's friend that grew up with him.
Right.
Goes to my parents' church in California, and his dad was pastoring in California. So that friend of his dad said,
To
you
your
know,
mom.
to my mom, they said, oh, you know, let's all come together. We're gonna do Vespers on Friday night. You know, recibir el sábado all together. And I was like, sure, let's do that. And then, well, they said I wasn't there, and she said to my mom, that friend, she said, I have the husband for your daughter. And my mom was like, what? And she was like, yeah, she has a daughter herself. And she said, if my daughter was older, I would want them to get married. But since she's too young, she's like 16, you know, then she can't. But your daughter has a good age to marry him. So then, well, they met, but I wasn't there. So a year goes by, I come home, and then she tells me that. And she doesn't tell me that this lady said that, you know. I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
we didn't. None of us knew.
None of us
Yeah,
knew. None
we
of
didn't
us
know.
knew what was actually happening. And
Right.
then, yeah.
It was a setup, you know.
It was a setup.
We didn't know.
We fell into the trap.
Right.
But yeah, so it's kind of like how you were talking about in the sermon. It's like the past and the future and the present.
Yeah,
Because when I was in Puerto Rico studying, in COVID, like we couldn't go out or anything, and everything was online. So then my best friend, before I went back home, before my mom told me anything about this family that they met, she told me, my best friend was like, hey, this pastor preached in our church, but like through Zoom, and the sermon was really good. So I'm gonna send you the link. It was supposed to be his dad, but his dad surprised us with his son. So now, like, you know, you can watch. And I was like, sure, I'll send it to me. We have nothing else to do. It's COVID. And I listened to the sermon, and I was like, wow, it's a really good sermon, but who's a pastor? And she was like, Gio, don't focus on the guy, you know, listen to the sermon. And I was like, okay, you're right. You're fine. It's fine. So then, and then that's when, like, I had actually seen him before seeing him.
Before she met me, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a God thing, because when she said that, when she looked at the friend request on Facebook, she said, "Oh, this is the guy. This is the pastor that I watch."
That's when I recognized him.
Yeah, this is the guy that my best friend sent me, and then she said, "Oh, okay." So it's crazy that she saw me for the first time in that live stream, but I had already met her family a year before that,
and I knew nothing about that.
And yeah, and I don't remember seeing her either.
Yeah,
none of us remember anything, you know.
Yeah.
And it's God's timing is perfect, because I was dating somebody back then too, you know. So
I was talking to somebody else.
she was dating somebody too. So if we would have met back then, you know, it would have worked out.
Yeah.
No.
But praise the Lord that a year later we met, and then that's how we started.
Yeah.
I went to see her. I went to California, and I saw her for the first time, and I fell in love with her. I said, I know she's gonna be my wife. So a year and a few months after that, I proposed, and then here we are. I know you guys are gonna get married too. You know, not too far away.
Yeah.
So you know, we're in the same boat that you guys are right now. Yeah.
And actually, I was gonna ask you, how do you know, or did you know, that she was the one or he was the one? Because that's a question that youth, like the young people, is having right now.
That's
like,
a very good question.
Yeah.
Very good question. When we started talking, I guess I was used to very toxic relationships, you know?
Yeah.
Because when we started talking, everything was so easy that I was like, I can't believe this is happening. You know, I remember that, you know, when I would text, let's say my exes, you know, or the people that I talked to, I would text them, and they would take a while to get back to me, and I would take a while longer, much longer than them. And it was so toxic that I was, and I was used to that game. But when I started talking to Gio, she would reply right away, and I wouldn't be ashamed to reply to her right away. We would reply right away to each other, and sometimes she would call me randomly throughout the day, and I was like, I have never experienced this before. Like sometimes I had to like, hey, you think we can talk tonight? Or she'd be like, oh, you think we can talk later? I was like, oh, yeah, well, maybe, I'm busy. But with her, she would just call me, and I would just call her. So
You
things flew so naturally that I was like, this has to be the one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, and I think this is a good lesson for everybody that is watching. One day, she showed me her prayer journal. And she said, here I write all my prayers.
That's
Every
true.
night,
I still do.
every morning I get up and I write to God what I want him to do in my life or the things that I'm going through. And I say, well, I said to her, it'll be a dream if one day I make it into that journal.
Yeah, that's true.
But guess what the answer was? You're already there.
Yeah.
When she said you already in that journal,
Amazing.
I'll say, oh, this is deep. Because
Yeah.
like nobody
Yeah,
ever
that's
said to
true.
me, hey, I've been praying for you. Or like I've been praying for our relationship.
Yeah.
And because I never got that, I was like, yeah, this has to be the one.
Mhm.
So I knew right away that she was gonna be my wife right after that.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
To me, when we first started like messaging, talking, like it just felt like I couldn't get him. Like no, sorry, we hadn't even texted yet, but I had seen him, and I was like, I was praying. I was like, Lord, if this is not the person for me, like why am I even thinking about a guy that I haven't even met? We haven't even spoken. Like I don't know anything about him. So it's like if this person is not for me, take him out of my heart, my mind. Why am I thinking of him? And it was like something I couldn't get him out of like my brain. I was like, why is this happening? And even before we met, before I even knew anything about him, I felt like it was like a feeling. It was like God was telling me, get ready. Like get close to me. Get closer to me because something big is gonna happen and it's gonna change your life. I was like, am I gonna be my husband? Like, what are you talking about? But it was something that I genuinely felt. And when I met him, the way that I kind of knew, I mean, I always wanted someone that was, I didn't know I was gonna marry a pastor, but
That was not the plan.
that was not the plan. But I knew that whoever I married, I wanted whatever he did, like career wise, to be like devoted to God. Like I knew that I wanted like him to, like if he was a teacher, I wanted to teach in the Sabbath school. If he was a preacher, to preach. If he was whatever he did, I wanted that. And he just happened to be a pastor that all he does is church, But I saw that he loved God before anything else. And that to me was just so important. Like he loves God more than me. And I love that because that's how it should be. So I felt that from him, and it was just God, and everything that happened, my mom and the friend and the everything that was just coming together. I was like, this has to be from God. Like there's no other way that that could have happened.
Yeah.
So
It was the perfect plan.
it really was. It
Yeah.
really was.
Everything flew naturally, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
It wasn't that hard. Even though it wasn't perfect, we had our struggles and hurdles for sure.
Absolutely.
But you could see that it was God. It was a God thing. It was led by God.
That's awesome.
And I think part of what you're saying, first of all, a lot of your story it made me laugh a lot because it's similar to how I
Our
felt
story.
with our
Yeah.
story.
Really?
I would love to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's-
part of our story, and Anita can tell her part. So similar to you, I was in a relationship. She was in a relationship, and she walked in, and I was a teacher in the Sabbath school class.
Wow.
And she, first of all, I didn't think much of it at first.
Right.
But what started freaking me out was she would bring a notebook.
Ooh.
And she would write everything, every word that came out of my mouth. She would
I
be
love
writing
to do
notes,
that.
writing
Wow.
notes, writing notes.
Yeah.
And then a year after, she just disappeared. COVID happened,
Oh wow.
and I didn't know what happened. And normally, so Pri and Wensi are in my class.
Okay.
And Pri always invites people.
Mm.
So we always have people coming in, people coming out. So then I just thought she faded out, and she was like, "All right, I'm done with church."
Wow.
And it was COVID. I didn't
Right.
know, and she'll tell you her part, but she got stuck in Costa Rica
Oh, I
for
see.
6 months.
Mm.
And I want to clarify something here. I'm new in the Adventist world.
Is that right?
Because
Well, you look very Adventist to me.
You do.
yeah, but no. Well, I got
Wow.
baptized
3 years ago.
well, 3 years
Wow.
ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
My family's Catholic, so
Okay.
I know a lot of things about being a
Mhm.
Christian,
Right.
but for me, this Adventist world, it's completely new. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why, because
Yes.
I started with my Bible classes and I
Mm,
said, hey, I really want to understand
Yeah.
like what you preach and
Yeah.
everything that you, because I can see God here in a different way. So I will say that that was the first time that I started having that connection with God.
Wow.
And imagine, I was in Costa Rica, moving to Massachusetts, and
Yes.
meeting him. It was like, no,
Yeah.
It was
this
really
is
random
God,
because it's like
God's
we were
plan.
so different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And then she disappeared
yeah.
for a 6-month period.
Mm,
And it's funny
Mhm.
what you're saying because it was prayers being answered, but not my prayers.
right. Right.
It was literally the prayers of so many church people and even my
Well, my
parents.
prayers too.
And
Ah,
her
yeah.
prayers.
Yeah,
Like, for
because
example, I never prayed for it, but she
Wow.
did.
yes,
She had a
Wow.
long list of who was she looking for.
That's
yes,
beautiful.
Wow.
And he met all the criteria. He met all the.
Just
Except
one.
one.
No.
Was that one?
You could tell him.
Okay.
That was your criteria.
So I'm almost 36,
Okay.
and I said, okay, God, I had these other boyfriends. It didn't work out, so I don't want like a young man because I don't want to deal with that. So I said, you can give me if I'm 35, okay, you can give me like 32, but younger, no. So I said, okay, you ask me, start asking, like
Right.
do a checklist, and then that's an advice that I always tell to my my younger sister and
Good.
youngest, and I always said like, hey, you need to write down and ask God, hey, I want this and this and this.
Yes. Be specific.
Be specific, because if you don't be specific, then you don't need to complain.
Right.
So that was the only one, because he's 30 and I'm 35. But then God, it's his humor. He said,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
that's
But you look like a kid, you know?
yes. Oh, thank you so much.
You
But no,
for real.
no,
Yeah.
for real, for
That's
real.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
You
insane.
both look really young.
But both of you guys, you know?
Thanks.
But you tell me like you tell me right now you're 36, I wouldn't believe you. Like I wouldn't believe you. I was like,
Show
there's
me
no
your
way.
ID.
Yeah.
my genes,
There's no way.
the creams and all the things that I use.
Eat your vegetables, you guys. You know
Yes,
that's
yes, exercise. Yeah. No, but going back of your personal life and a little bit of your ministry. So can you tell us, when did you basically said, hey, yes, I want to be a pastor, or yeah, whatever, everything that you do, it's to serve God, and I think that we need to do that, and especially in these new times.
Yeah, we're living in difficult times for sure. When for me to say when the time, when I decided to be a pastor, I told you guys it was when I went canvassing. But when I came back, I was still doubting, whether I was in the right place or not. And I guess a lot of prayer, not only from my parents but also from my sister and myself, came through with my decision to become a pastor. Because I would ask, I remember the first time, I grew up preaching. This is what I did, growing up. But there's nothing like preaching when you're an adult. When you're a kid, people are like, "Oh, that's cute," that's a young guy or a little guy preaching. But when you're an adult, people are going to criticize you, and people are going to be like, "Oh, I don't know if I disagree with that," and that's totally fine. I think disagreeing with people, as long as we are respectful, is totally fine. But it's not only that, but folks be talking behind your back, and they be saying things that are not true. And I remember when I started preaching, people would say, "Man, that's so good. I see that's your passion. That's what you should be doing." But then when you become a pastor, it's a whole different game. And I remember when I was doing my practice as a pastor in Fort Worth, Texas, and I was discouraged because I was preaching for a whole week, and I was so tired. I was tired. Number two, it was a very small church, very, very small. We had to go and pick up the members and bring them to church, preach to them, and then take them back home.
Okay.
You know, on Saturdays, on Sabbath, we have to bring them to church, give them food, feed them, and then take them back. I was like, this is a full-time job. I mean, and I was doing that was just my practice. And I remember I was very discouraged one day on a Friday evening, and I talked to God and I said, God, what do you want me to do? Because I was a senior now in college
Yeah.
on my last year. What do you want me to do? Because I'm discouraged. Is this really what you want me to do? Is it really do you really want me to be a pastor? And I remember that I was sitting outside of the church crying, you know, asking God real questions. Why me, or why would I be a pastor, and all those things. And I felt like the Holy Spirit just confirmed to me that I was supposed to be a pastor. After that day, I was good to go. And until this day, I preach with the same enthusiasm and the same energy as if I'm preaching a big church. If I go to a small church, I'm preaching with the same energy as if I was in my home church, you know, because God confirmed to me that no matter where I go, my job, my purpose, and my calling is to preach the word of God.
Okay.
So that day, God confirmed to me, yes, you are supposed to be a pastor. Go preach the word, and because of that, I don't really care what people think about me anymore. You know, you can ask my wife. We have, you know, I have my YouTube channel. I have a guy who manages my social media, and he does a great job. And you know, I get a lot of good comments and a lot of compliments on my sermons, but I also get a lot of hate, you know, because in social media, whatever you post, you're always going to have good comments and good people say nice things, but you're also going to have a lot of hate, specifically in the Adventist world, you know, because we have a different message. And people be saying, well, that's not true. You Adventists, you know, you're in a cult and stuff like that. And I asked my wife, I tell my wife, I'm surprised of myself of how little I care about what people think about me. It doesn't even affect me anymore. It's crazy because younger me will be suffering, you know, and crying and be like, man, why are people so mean? But right now I'm like, I could care less. I don't really care. And I believe that everything happened after that day when God confirmed to me, hey, no matter what happens to you, this is the right path for you. You are supposed to be a pastor. So I'm in God's hand.
I honestly think it's such a it's like a godly confidence that like when you're right with God and when you're doing what you've been called to do and you're confident that God is like leading your steps, it's like I don't really like I worry about you. I pray about you for the negative things that you could say about me, but it's not something that like whatever you think is not going to deviate me from what my calling is.
Right.
Just to keep going of what we were discussing. So now, how do you find balance between your personal life or family life and the pastoral life?
That's a good one. That's pretty hard. When we first got married, there was no balance at all. We we didn't see each other very often, and I think in the first years of marriage, that is very important. But we didn't have it because I had four churches, as I said before,
And I worked night shift.
and she works
I'm a
night
nurse,
shifts.
so I worked night shift.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
yeah.
Tough.
So when I go to work, she's coming back from work, and then she sleeps all day, and then when I get home, she's taking off and she goes back to the hospital. So
That's
we
really
miss
hard.
each other. You know, we don't see each other. The good thing about her is that she works 3 days a week, and she has 4 days off. Me, I don't have any day off. Whenever people call me, I have to be there, and I have to be available. So that finding that balance is pretty hard. But I don't know. What do you think?
I definitely agree. At first, it was really hard. Not only that aspect, but I've been Adventist my whole life, but I've never been a pastor's kid. So that's something that he was used to. He was used to long days, long nights, and he said it in the sermon. Some of the churches were 2 hours away, an hour away, an hour and a half. So he would come home at 10, 11, 12. And I was home alone. I was like, well, this kind of sucks, you know, because we don't see each other. But I think definitely putting our marriage into God's hands was the first thing that we did. And finding little moments. We used to walk like on Friday nights, on Friday evening, like into the Sabbath. We just would take walks around our like apartment complex, you know, and we would just talk. How was your week? What did you do today? You know, I try not to work Friday nights, so at least I was off that day, and I was like, okay, so what happened today? So it was the little moments that we were able to find in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the four churches. You know, he would call me on his way back home or things like that. Like it was the little moments that like made us go through it, you know, because if not, it would have been almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah, and it has to be a good balance. Like Gio said, she she has been Adventist her whole life, but she has never been obviously a pastor's wife, and nobody in her family was married to a pastor.
Yeah.
So the dynamic is very different. I grew up, in this lifestyle, so that's why I can wear the same suit all day and it doesn't bother me at all. I'm used to it. But that's the way I grew up. I don't know anything different than that. So the dynamic was very different from what Gio had experienced as an Adventist and what my experience was as an Adventist. But what I did when we got married is that I told her, hey, you're going to be a member of the church and you're going to be here for me and I'll be here for you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be that pastor's wife that is doing it all. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be the pastor's wife that is playing the piano, preaching whenever I'm not preaching. Like
I'm not
I
that.
want you to enjoy life and enjoy ministry in a different way.
Yeah.
So you can tell her, I think out of most of the pastor's wife, she's the one who doesn't really have any responsibility or she's just having a good time,
And that's something we kind of like mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but I never planned to be a pastor's wife. I didn't want to be a pastor's wife. I would run away from theologians when I was at college because I was like, there's no way. I would never say never. So 'cause I'm here now, and I think it has to do with the fact of like I fell in love with him, and he is not, I mean, I don't know how other pastors are, but he's not the pastor that will make me do anything that I don't really want to do. Like I'm not, like he said, you don't have to be preaching whenever I'm not preaching, and you don't have to be doing this when like it was something that I really appreciated. And something that I heard, it was like an advice that I heard from other pastors' wives. They said, don't do anything at church that you wouldn't do as a regular member. If you like to do audiovisual, do audiovisual. If you were already doing that before you married a pastor, do that. If you were singing, do that. If you were playing piano, but don't feel like you have to do something just because you're the pastor's wife. Or you don't feel
pressure.
like the responsibility or the pressure. So I appreciated that, and I still do from him, because anything that I do because it comes from my heart. And if it wasn't like that, then I wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So
And I will say that she's your first fan there.
Actually,
So for me, that's the best position that you can have in this pastoral life. To support him in everything.
I think that's part of something similar that happened to us, because I've never been a pastor's kid, or my uncle's a pastor, but I'm not that close to him either. But I think I've always been used to being in the church from 9 a.m. to
all day,
and I was the teacher for the Sabbath school class since I was like 12. I've been a teacher. I've been with Pathfinders. I've been with the accounting. I've done audiovisual. I've done everything in between.
Wow.
So my day has always been full. So I think that's part of something that we've had where, and I do appreciate, because you are my first fan and you're always there to support me with whatever. But we had to have that discussion at some point where she said, it's too much. I am burning out.
Right.
I told her,
you
should never burn out.
Right.
That's when you need to start to say no and
Yes.
step down and say, this is what I can offer, and it's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's difficult
It
because
is.
I'm a person that I don't like to say no. So, but then I start saying it's my mental health,
Yes.
it's my time. Sometimes we just need to say, hey, no.
Yes.
And it's okay too. So that's something that I always try to tell the youth, because it's difficult. It's difficult to
Very
learn how to
difficult.
say no.
Yes. Very difficult. I think, I'm glad that you mentioned that mental health aspect, because that's so important, and we're both aware of the issues that mental health can cause if you are not checked, if you don't talk to a doctor, if you don't see what was going, if you don't think about the things that are going through. So I think that's very important. And by the way, I want to say that I'm very proud of you guys, because you guys are so involved in the church. and I
Thank
saw it
you.
throughout this week. And I'm like, man, you guys are very good young people. You guys, we don't have a lot of you guys in churches, you know?
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
fact that you are not pastors per se, but you are very involved in the church, it speaks a lot about your relationship with God. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now that you are saying that, invite our young people to come back.
Yes, 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 yes.
Please,
Yes,
please,
yes,
because
yes.
that's part of the things that we are trying to
That's our
do.
struggle, I
Like,
think.
I think that, yeah, sometimes we just have one or two, and it's like we start questioning
Yeah.
God, why we are doing all this
Yeah.
effort if we don't see the young people at
Right.
church.
Right.
So I don't
Yeah.
know if you
Part of
have
that,
had
it's that, but then every single time I think that and I get discouraged, God slaps me.
Yeah.
It's like letters of
that's true.
Paul that
Yeah.
is just like smacking you.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, because sometimes I get discouraged. I feel like, what am I putting so much sweat, tears, and effort into
Yeah, it's
the
hard.
ministry? But at the end, like for example, we went to the Pathfinders camp last week, and I haven't had so much fun in a Pathfinders camp as I did, because I see, even though we have a small club and it's maybe 5 or 6 of us,
Okay.
I can see the difference in their life,
Mm.
and that fueled me even more.
Wow.
And I think now I'm coming back from the camp, I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted because it was sleeping in the cold. Well, I didn't sleep in the cold because I went home and back, but like the people slept in the cold, and we did this, and we suffered through a lot of effort. But then now I came back with more energy, saying, okay, I can make more. So for example, one of the projects that thankfully I was reelected, and it's not like I ran for it, but
Right. Right.
I was reelected into the youth department as being the youth director. And one of the stuff is I want to target the younger generation, because they're the key for the next ones, because we don't have a lot of the teenagers. But if we catch them when they're really, really young, that's gonna make the difference.
Oh wow, man! And I know that you guys are already making a difference. I will tell you this real quick. I took some classes from a project that they were doing in my union, the Southwestern Union, and those classes were about how to keep the young people in the church, you know, and they said that the best way to keep young people in the church is to have them involved in the church. They want to be part of something. They don't want to be seated, you know, on the pews, but they want to be the ones being part of the decision. If you make them be part of the decision, they will stay, because that's what, especially, you know, in this younger generation. Our generation is very different. We are millennials, you know.
Yeah.
Well, except my wife is, you know, in the border between a Gen Z and a millennial. She's actually a Gen Z, you know.
You love
But
to say that.
but
And the technicality.
right, but she acts like a millennial. But this generation, the Gen Z, it's very hard to work with, because they're not involved. You know, they're just in their own world, and they say that the only way to keep them in the church is to have them involved. It's not that they are in their own world. It's just that they want to be part of the decision. They want adults to talk to them and tell them, "Hey, I know that you have great ideas. Come and join us at the table so we can talk about them." You know, and we don't do that at church.
No.
You know,
And
we make the
especially-
decisions for them.
Yeah, and in this church, we have a big difference between the young people.
Yeah.
It's a gap, giant.
The age gap is
unfortunate
very yeah.
And our issue is not just age, but it's a culture too.
A cult. That's true.
You have the
Yeah.
older generation who were not born here,
Came from
necessarily,
overseas. Yeah.
and then now the ones that, so there's a culture clash,
Yes.
and then you multiply it by the age, and then
Yeah.
that creates a bigger
Yeah.
problem.
And every generation thinks that they know it all. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the older generation think that they can tell the younger people how to do things, you know.
Yeah.
And be like, well, this is what worked in the past, so this is gonna work. And that's why I preach this sermon. I'm very passionate about that, because we use methods, you know, that worked in the past, but we have to update ourselves every year, because God continues to speak, you know. And maybe your generation can bring something new to the table that we never saw in our generation. So I think if we keep him involved, we can bring him back to church, you know. And I'll speak from experience. Our church, we have a lot of young people, but a lot of young people. Yeah, and I would love for you guys to come to my church, you know, whenever you guys are available to. because we do have a lot of young people. Well, it helps that we have a big university in our city, and that is Texas Tech. Go Texas Tech, okay? And they come to our university and they come to church every Sabbath. And on top of that, we have a lot of young people in our church because they grew up there, and it is interesting because they are so involved in the church as well, and you don't see that typically in any other church, you know. And I'm very grateful that they are that involved. Now, the reason why they are involved is because they are part of the service.
Yeah.
Our young people have positions in the board, you know. A lot of them. I mean, they sit at the board meetings and they give their opinions, and I welcome that. I was like, yeah, please talk. So keeping them involved always helps, you know. And I think it's a matter of time to training the congregation on how to do that.
Yeah, and it's not only them being on the board. Like our church also really helps them. Like if they have a project and it's like ambitious or whatever it is, like the board or my husband also, they do their best to like actually support it. Like, you want to do an evangelistic series at your university? Okay, we'll try to do that. We'll try to make it happen. And they really bend backwards and forwards just to make those things happen. And I feel like that makes them feel included.
Yeah.
And they appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what we did. We started last year and we did it this year again. We had for the first time an evangelistic series on campus. Yeah. So we
It's
ran.
not Adventist college.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's a
That,
public school.
but that's amazing.
Yeah.
that you can have that.
Yeah. We rented a room and we invited a guest speaker, and he preached every single night on campus at Texas Tech. And then last year we had 3 baptisms at the end of the
that's
series.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yes. And this year we didn't have any baptism, but we did have a lot of new kids that came to church for the first time because of that evangelistic series.
Yeah.
So it works. Yeah.
That's nice. Well, it's almost done, but I just want to ask you something about that relationship with God. So when you feel down or disconnected, what do you do to reconnect with God?
Good question. You want to go first on that one? She wants time to think. You know, I know her. So
Hit you with the Uno reverse.
I know. Me personally, I have found the power. I said before in the Word of God, and I have found power in prayer. You know, I'll tell you this: when I got out of the Fort Church district, I went to the doctor in Lubbock, Texas, when we moved to Lubbock, and I try to be happy most of the times and very outgoing and all that. But I went to the doctor, and I don't like going to the doctor, but my wife forces me now to go to the doctor to get my yearly checkup. And when I went to the doctor, they were asking too many questions, and then after the questions and all the diagnosis that they do, he came out with the results, and he said, "Man, your depression level is too high." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're depressed." And I said, "So what do I do?" He said, "Well, I can give you pills, you know, so you can overcome that depression." And I never thought I was depressed because when you're working for the Lord, you're working so hard that you're not even thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about how you feel, but you're thinking about the church, the congregation, the people. And when you're a pastor, when you're in ministry, people come to you with their problems, and they put it all on you.
You know, load of that.
Exactly. And you cannot share anything with anybody, but it stays between that person, you and God. So I guess all that affected me to the point that he said, "You're depressed." And then he said, he asked me, "What do you do for a living?" But I asked him, "So what do I do?" And he said, "I can give you pills, but if I were you, the cheapest way to go about it is to go and talk to the pastor." And then he asked me, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "I'm a pastor." He said, "Oh, well, that makes sense."
Talk to yourself. What do you want to do, Pastor?
So he said, "Well, yeah, pastors and doctors, they do have a lot of pressure, and maybe that's the reason why you're depressed." And what I did is that I told my wife, the next Sabbath, drop me off at church early. I want to get there before everybody else. I want to get there at 6 a.m. Drop me off at church. Now, we start our services at 9 with prayer. We have a group, prayer group, and then at 9:30 we have the breakfast. You know, not anymore, but we used to have breakfast in the church for people to come and participate. And then we start our main service at 11. But I told her, drop me off at church at 6 a.m. because I want to spend time with God by myself. And I got on my knees in my office, and I prayed and talked to God and left it all in God's hands. And that day, it was kind of like a whole load came off my shoulders. And I was able to give it all to God. So staying rooted in the Word of God can help you tremendously in your relationship with God. But prayer is the key, because if you don't speak to God about what you're going through, you're going to keep it all in, and to the point that you're going to explode. And by the time you explode, it's going to be too late. So my advice for those who are watching right now is that talk to God in prayer. He will help you overcome anything that you're going through. Don't keep it to yourself. Give it all to God, and He will be able to help you overcome those things that you're struggling with. And just like I was able to overcome depression, even though I didn't know I had depression, I was kind of sad, but it was not like I felt like I was that down. But deep inside, I was very depressed. And prayer with God, or through God's help, was able to help me get through it. Yeah, so that's what helps me in my relationship with God. Reading the Word and prayer.
Great.
Yeah. I definitely agree, with that. I think prayer and the Word, and seeing how in the Bible others also went through sad, depressing moments, and life things just didn't make any sense, and realizing how much they trusted God and how God really helped them through. So that's, besides that, I was thinking to, like, what else have I done? And at least now that I'm married, I confide a lot in my husband, and I feel like it generally takes a village to get through life. It's hard when you're by yourself, and I definitely talk to him and to my friends, and whenever I feel sad, like, hey, this is happening, like, what have you done? What do you recommend? And I mean, he's also a pastor, so it really helps. But in general, you have at least one friend that can listen to you, and I can say, like, hey, I went through the same thing, or I'm going through the same thing, or or I understand you, or my sister can understand you, talk to her, and there are some things that are just really hard that other people can help you with and that you don't even know. So confiding in someone that you trust can also help, someone that is also centered with God, and all the things that you want, someone that will lead you closer to God. That really helps. And I mean, I've gone to therapy too. So if there's so much that he can do, there is so much that we can do on our own.
Yeah.
But I also think that God uses people through, like, psychology and therapy.
Yeah.
And you can find a good, like, resource, a therapy that is like Seventh-day Adventist or Christian, someone that will also guide you to Christ, and be centered in that.
Yeah.
And if there's something that he cannot help with, or that I cannot find on my own, or in my own prayer or whatever, I honestly think that God uses others professionally that can help you if you feel like it's something stronger or deeper, or, harder.
Yeah. I never been through therapy myself, but I think going through therapy helps a lot. Having that professional help can help you get through things. So
Yes.
I would highly recommend it.
Yes.
For sure.
Me too.
Okay, and I think, I mean, I want to say thank you very much for joining us and for
Thank you,
making the
guys.
time. I know this has been a while that we've been sitting here for a bit. So I just want to say thank you, and I really appreciate you guys coming out from Texas all the way out here,
man.
joining us for a short weekend, a little bit longer than that, and making time for us.
It's been an honor. Thank you, guys.
To close off, is there anything you want to plug in? Any social media? Your book? Any of that kind of stuff? You can tell us, for example, your book, plug it in, tell them where to buy it.
Yes, I forgot about the book. I wrote a book back in 2021, and it's titled Third Generation, and then with question marks, Are we reckless? But yeah, that's the name of my book, and it talks about how God has been the same for the first, second, and third generation. So if you're interested about it, you can go on Amazon and just type Raul Alvarez and then third generation, and then you will see it's going to pop up right away. And for my YouTube, if you guys want to go there and subscribe. My name is Raul Alvarez. So you just type Pastor Raul Alvarez, and you're gonna see all the sermons, in our YouTube page that is now growing. So we're very proud of that. And if you want to participate or be part of that journey, please go ahead and subscribe. And I pray that you'll be highly blessed.
The book is in Spanish and English.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you very much.
Pastor.
Thank you, guys.
So much.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
God bless you.
Yes.
That He continues blessing your marriage.
Amen.
Yeah. And,
Amen.
I hope that we will see you again.
Yes. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And see you next time.
Bye.
See you next time.